Good morning, Rays. KJ here. The first time this spring that I'm able to get out on my porch. It was 72 degrees yesterday, y'all. And it's going to be nice and warm this week. No leaves on the trees yet, but you see little signs of spring coming along. I hope everyone's having a good Monday, whether you're in the morning, afternoon, or in the evening. I am so happy that I'm back out on my porch. This last week, y'all, OKJ's been fighting a chest cold. And I'm getting back to normal and all that good stuff. But I just couldn't come to y'all. I was so stuffed up in my sinuses, down in my chest. I absolutely could not even enjoy a damn cigarette, you know? I know. I shouldn't smoke, but the bottom line is it's one of the things that I really enjoy with a good cup of coffee. I enjoy it after I eat. I enjoy it when I'm nervous. I enjoy it after sex. I enjoy it, just about any time, just contemplating life. Good morning, Donna. How are you? I tried to work in the yard yesterday. I've been feeling poorly. I do feel better today. Well, good for you, Donna. How's your mama doing? Is she doing okay? Hello, Chris Arnett. How are you? So what OKJ decided to do, since a lot of y'all are watching the Corey Richens trial and some of y'all are not, I thought, well, why don't I just hear it from all of you? I mean, y'all have heard it from me for what, 6 years now? Why don't I hear it from you? We'll get together. We'll just talk like we're sitting here having coffee. Or whatever we're doing, we'll do it. We'll just talk and see how it goes. Hello, Madonna. How are you? She's doing good. Well, that's good, Donna. That's good. Let me give you an idea of what it's like for me every morning. I usually get up about 6 or 7 in the morning, depending on how late I go to bed at night or if I'm having a rough night. But usually between 6 and 7, I've got to get up out of bed, and 9 times out of 10, except on the weekends, 100% of the time on the weekdays, Wayne's already made coffee because he's already left out the door. And I get up out of bed, and Opie's in bed with me, and so I have to take him out through the side door here, take him down the stairs, and put him out in this big pen here to let him do his business. And then I go back in the house for about 10 or 15 minutes, pour my coffee, and then I sit it all down, get it ready to go, and then I go get Opie. Opie comes in, I feed him breakfast. The two of the 3 cats, there used to be 5 cats, but now we've only got 4. There's one that won't come in the house, but we'll eat out of the feeder. But anyway, I feed them. I have to feed them separately on top of counters or tables because Opie won't let them eat. And then I sit down and I have my coffee. And if Mom says, good morning, 7 a.m. here, I think I just heard the snowplow go by, trying to make myself give up the warm blanket. I need some coffee, though. Well, go get your cup of coffee now. We're going to talk a little bit. And again, if y'all hear me a little scratchy in my voice or whatever, y'all, I had one hell of a damn chest cold. I mean, I didn't know that a body could have that much mucus in it, produce so much damn mucus. I mean, it was pathetic. I mean, I was absolutely on death's door, in my opinion. I mean, that's how I felt. Because every time I took something over the counter for it, it just prolongs it. It just makes it stay there that longer. It'll dry it up so you don't cough all that crap up so you can sleep. But then you turn around, it wears off. You're hacking like a damn, I mean, it's just awful, y'all. It is. Brutus won't let the cats eat either. They have purchased for their bowls. Yes, Donna, I gotta put the cats up on the table. NF Mom says, scared to look out and see if I have to shovel the driveway to go to work. Where are you at, NF Mom? I should know this by now, but it's hard to keep up with all of y'all. Kathy Benedero says it's awful. I've had it for 3 weeks. Well, I call it the funk, Kathy. I call it the funk. I call it the, what is it, the gunk. I haven't been sick in like 3 years, but guess what, y'all? We've narrowed it down. Wayne and I have narrowed it down how I got this. He went to Daytona. He came back on a Monday. By Tuesday morning, he was feeling bad. He had it for 3 days and he was completely over it. But guess what, y'all? He gives it to me and it's lasted over a week. Zagar X says, oh my gosh, shout out. My son turns 13 tomorrow and his name is Uraniga. And he is a big fan of yours. Okay, well, happy birthday, Uraniga. I hope I'm saying his name properly. I'm an old country girl. I can't even get the freaking English language right. I mean, I'm too much of the folks and the y'all and the ain't and the isms and everything else. Yeah, Donna, you've been doing a great job on there covering the Corey Richens for Crescia K. Easton of Difficult Research. You always do a great job. Y'all be sure to go over there after hanging out with OKJ and having a little coffee. Ziggurat, I'm from Tennessee, here in the United States. That's where I'm from. I'm in the eastern part of the map. I'm right over there on the eastern part of. We're shaped like a wing, Tennessee. Just old country folk. My brats live. I do have animals. I have Opie, which is my miniature poodle, and my cats. I've got 4 cats. But I know what you're saying. You're saying, do you have horses or pigs or goats or whatever? My next door neighbor has goats. Right across as I look out this way right now, there are cows in the field. They're not ours. They're owned by a friend of ours. And yeah, we got cows and goats and chickens. Chickens next door too. OKJ doesn't do the old McDonald farm stuff, you know. It's just too much trouble and I just don't do it. But I do grow a garden every year. Everything from tomatoes, jalapeno peppers, bell peppers, corn, squash, all kinds of goodies. You know, that's what we have here. And I'm also a big proponent of local honey clover honey. That right there helps. You add a little of that local honey to some whiskey, and your shit is going to get better real soon, as far as OKJ is concerned. Hello, Stephanie Willow. Hello, it's just Robbie. How are you? Hadn't seen you in a while. Now, this is the first day back out on the porch for OKJ, and I had told the Rays and others, but specifically the Rays, that they needed to educate me on what they're seeing in the Corey Richens trial, and that we would just talk about it. You know, we don't have to have some certain kind of format or whatever. We'll do that. And then, of course, let's get to the question that OKJ asked on the community wall. Did Eric Richens have a drug problem? And y'all gave me all kinds of answers. I guarantee you that's going to be a question those jurors are going to want to ask themselves. Did he actually have a drug problem? And how does that tie in on whether he was murdered by his wife, Corey Richens, with fentanyl, or whether he himself got a hold of some bad shit It happens all the time, y'all. I'm not taking up for Corey Richens. I'm just saying, what is reasonable doubt, y'all? Donna from Sissy Should Have Been a Detective, who is also one of the mods and, the administrator mod there on Cresha K. Easton's Difficult Research, which if you want to watch the trial, no better place to go. Go to Difficult Research, because everybody and their freaking mama is streaming the trial, and Cresha deserves our support. I would be a bad juror at this time. I believe she's guilty, says Lady Ava. Oh, my Bratz Liv says, I had goats, but they died in a horrible coyote attack, but one survived. I'm sorry to hear that, my Bratz live. That's where good old dogs come in. We got Great Pyrenees out here. We've got all kind of red bone coon hounds and all kind that'll keep them cows. We hear them at night, but them dang cows over in the field over here, they're having their spring calves now. Them cows would love to catch a baby calf coming out of its mama at that moment. The most vulnerable time that any of these animals out here, whether it's a deer, whether it's a goat, whether it's a cow. Yes, Stephanie Willa. And you're one of the few that whenever I post something on the community wall, you actually go and see what other people are saying. Because guess what, y'all? We can't think like everyone else. We think the way we do. You are the only you you're ever going to be. So when people give their thoughts on a trial, there might be something they say that you didn't even think about. But then again, there might be something someone says that you're like, yeah, I thought the same thing. So it's always good, and it's also absolutely imperative. If you're going to be in the crime genre community, if you're going to watch these trials, to do a little critical thinking, for goodness sake. Use that brain God gave you. Good morning, Cindy Arnold. Yes, Kathy Benedero, when you say Corey's mother's partner died from the same thing, that was, that lifted up the eyebrows, on me. I'm like, maybe mama was helping Corey some way, but you have to have proof behind the pudding. You got to have some kind of evidence of it. I mean, the woman was never charged with it, but, it's good theory. It's good hypothesis. Donna says, I think Corey Richens is guilty, but I have doubt as to whether they will prove it. Donna, I'm not trying to poo-poo all over this, the state's case there. You know how I am. If people do something wrong, let them get it. Let them get it. Let them get the justice they deserve. Think about the investigation. There's just so much the defense has validly brought up that wasn't done. I mean, for God's sake, y'all. They didn't even test those 2 cups in the kitchen sink. And Corey's sitting there on the couch telling them that she made them a Moscow Mule. They should have at least tested those cups. Just Me says, I certainly hope they have more evidence. So I did ask y'all. I did ask you to put your comments down because, folks, it can't just be about what OKJ says. And besides that, y'all have educated me and know more about things than OKJ does. It helps me to learn, to get a little justice through understanding, right? But Kathy Benedero says, I think the jury is going to get tired of this defense attorney and see right through her BS. She is also the attorney for Charlie Kirk's killer. Now, when I read that, I'm like, okay, what BS? I've been watching it, y'all. The defense attorney's doing a pretty damn good job considering. But then again, didn't I say that Lori and Chad's attorneys did the level best? Archie and Lori's attorney there, they all did the best they could. Without defense attorneys, y'all, we ain't got a freaking justice system. We don't want Corey or anyone else saying ineffective assistance of counsel. We want them to get the best damn defense they possibly can get. Donna says, I think Eric could have been an addict if he has a dealer. Well, when I asked that question, did Eric have a drug problem? Donna. Gosh, I get y'all all mixed up. My head's all full of snot. You said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I was going to say, when I saw that, I was like, Donna, you and me, we're just not sure. Because that's exactly how I felt. I'm not sure. I mean, how could Eric not know? We can debate on whether these THC gummies are drugs or not. We can debate it left and right. Some states legalize marijuana, yada, yada, yada. But he had to have known they were in the house, for God's sake. And he had back problems. And, he did have a prescription bottle that said 2016. And they did have painkillers in the bottle. Regardless of whether there was half a bottle, one in the bottle, whatever. Wasn't it brought out in testimony from the defense that sometimes they put, when they buy street drugs, they'll put them in prescription bottles? We don't know. I've watched some of the trial, but I get anxiety with some of these attorneys being all over the place. Well, Cindy Arnold, they're going to do what they're going to do. I get what you're saying. It's aggravating. It's like, come on, you keep saying the same stuff over. You want to reemphasize a point, defense. That's what you're trying to do. And the prosecution should be saying, objection answered already. For goodness sake, they keep bringing it up over and over again. That gets on my nerves. Redundancy is not good in a trial setting. And that judge is up there probably squeezing his ass cheeks together going, damn, will you just move on? And he has. The judge has said it more than once. Move on, move on, move on. Donna says if he had a drug problem, talking about Eric, there is a connection somewhere. Lots of people do that. It is wrong, but he did not deserve to die, and I agree with that. He didn't. But let's just get real, y'all, okay? We see it in the news headlines all the time. People getting a hold of this junk on the street thinking they're buying, Molly's or whatever the hell, the blues, whatever they were saying and all that. They think that's what they're getting, and what happens? We see it on the news all the time, y'all. And I'm just going to tell you, okay? Y'all know I am a big proponent of seeking justice for someone who murdered somebody. And if Corey Richens is murdered Eric Richens, then she needs to have her ass nailed to the wall. But thus far, I'm going to wait until the whole trial before I start saying anything, okay? But here's the bottom line, y'all. The defense would be stupid, absolutely stupid, if their line of questioning of any, whether it's through toxicology, surely the state isn't going to bring somebody in who knows all about drugs to go on, some expert on drugs, because the defense should be saying, hasn't it been, haven't you seen this before where people get a hold of something that ain't good for them, that ends up killing their ass? And if not, the defense should absolutely call an expert on drug abuse or whatever and have them come in there and testify for the defense. Statistics, y'all. Statistics don't lie. Okay? I'm not taking up for Corey. I'm just trying to explain to y'all that the state has really, their case isn't as strong as I thought it was going to be thus far. maybe today as we move forward and people go on difficult research to watch the trial with Donna and other wonderful people on there, you will see some more testimony that will nail the coffin shut for Corey Richens. But all what I'm saying is, at this point, whether people want to deal with this or not, Corey Richens is presumed innocent until she's found guilty, or at least that's how it's supposed to be. Chris Arnett says, I've been missing a lot because I've been sick since last year and the doctors can't figure me out. Well, Chris, I hope they do. I hope they find some kind of way to treat whatever's bothering you. You're a wonderful person, and I hate to hear that. Exactly, Cindy Arnold. It takes just one juror to say not guilty. So Rachel B says her fake voice on the 911 call and covering her face while fake crying while paramedics are working on her husband is so crazy to me. And then Walking on Sunshine says, love seeing her cover her face with her hands the entire time police were talking to her to cover her lack of tears, empathy, and sadness after she just killed her sweet hubby. And that could very well be the truth. That could be the truth. She could be doing that to hide the fact that she didn't have tears. We saw the video. She's sitting there in her pajamas. I mean, by the way, y'all, I mean, come on. When Eric's sister went on the stand and said that Corey was all made up, she had her hair done and all that, that's just not so, y'all. I mean, I'm just trying to throw this out here so y'all understand that the state's case better have some more of the goods, is all I'm saying. This police officer, this deputy said that he even looked down, said he was trying to figure it out. I mean, because that's part of, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm getting over this chest cold. But, I mean, he even said he was trying to get, a look at her face, because I'm sure that's what they have to do in order to gauge what her body language is and how she's doing on her face during all of this. She absolutely looked like she didn't want anyone looking at her face. Kathy Benedero says he told his sister that he thought she was trying to kill him and changed his will just like Charles Vallow did. Well, that's true, Kathy Benedero. And that's going to work against Corey Richens because, I mean, but then again, I mean, he's not here. And how many times have we seen in the crime genre community, and say we watch 48 Hours or Oxygens or 2020, where the victim's family member says, they told me if something happened to me that he did it or she did it. But you just have to deal with their credibility on that. And you have to really take that with a grain of salt unless you have something to do with, y'all, to corroborate that. Whether it was, say, for instance, one of them saying, she's going to kill me in a text message. Then you could say, yes, they did say that. It isn't just someone's words saying it. Oh, look what my hubby just brought me. A Hardee's biscuit, y'all. Isn't that wonderful? Huh? It's Star Jernigan 11. Anyway, Wayne just showed up. He had to have the password to the business account there. Sorry about that, y'all. It's okay, Jay on the porch. So that was brought out by a couple of y'all about how Corey Richens put her hands in her face and everything. And really, y'all know, I mean, how's somebody supposed to react, right? Canyon Jam said about this trial, because I said, tell me, y'all. Tell me what you're learning. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the Corey Richens trial. Canyon Jam says, choosing not to watch this trial, except for the part where they say the verdict is in. Love to see the look, mostly emotionless, on their faces when they say guilty, 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 and then escort them away to await sentencing. So there's some of y'all that aren't even watching the Corey Richens trial, and some others even said they weren't watching it. Canadianist says, my gut tells me she's guilty. 26 more charges in her next trial. I feel for her 3 boys and hope they get the love and support to make them great men. Which brings out a great point. If anyone's like getting their feathers ruffled a little, because OKJ's bringing up that the state here in Utah doesn't have this slam dunk case, and they don't, y'all. The bottom line is Corey Richens has been charged with other financial crimes. She's not going anywhere anytime soon, because you can be damn sure the woman is going to be convicted of the financial crimes, forgery, and all that other stuff. Even in this trial, she's got 1 count of forgery and something else, insurance fraud there. She's going to get some time, but then going into the next trial where they separated it, she's not going home. She's just not. If she is found not guilty of murdering Eric Richens. So I asked the question, and the jurors are going to want to know the answers, y'all. Jim Ratliff says, you need the Lord in your life. And I hope that's a general statement, Jim. And I agree with that. I think people do need Jesus in their life. And, if you're talking to me specifically, then obviously you've never been here before, okay? So either get with what we're talking about or move on, all right? I felt guilty for judging Katie. The father was very sincere. Well, I mean, she did. She come across as not vindictive, but hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, she sees through her own lens. She sees through her own eyes. And perhaps, she saw it the way she saw it. And she's not I don't think she's trying to make it up or anything like that. But, let's just get real, y'all. All right? Corey Richens knew what she was getting into to sign a prenuptial agreement when you marry someone. I mean, does that sound healthy to anyone? I mean, like, for instance, let's just take, for instance, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I could see a prenup in that. They both got money and all that, okay? But, they act like that Eric Richens had money out the ass. I mean, he had a good living. But the bottom line is that it just right off the bat, prenup agreement, I mean, does that sound like love at first sight? I don't know. Just Me says that Eric Richens' sister is in a lot of pain and is very angry. Cindy Arnold says, we all need the Lord. So I asked the question, and if I spit, y'all are just going to have to forgive me. I am serious. I've been dealing with this chest cold for over a week now. But I asked the question about whether Eric Richens had a drug problem. Donna said, I'm not sure. But today she said he might. He might have had one. Which answers the question, there is no clear-cut evidence that Eric Richens, just circumstantial evidence, one way or the other. I mean, if you want to take the word of Eric Richens' family from Utah there, who, from what I understand, Mormon and all this other stuff, they don't like caffeine, they don't like all this and that. They wanted to believe that Eric Richens didn't do any of this stuff. But then the sister there on the stand says, well, my mother really isn't against marijuana. She made it a point to say that out loud for whatever reason. So I guess it was safe for the sister to say that, being a Mormon, and I'm not sure how that goes. But then again, we've got people in the Mormon church who are taking ketamine and other things, I guess to expand their revelation capacity. I don't know, but it's a proven fact. There ain't no speculation about it. So let's just go back into this. Did Eric have a drug problem? NF Mom says, where's the LDS? The line between church and state is very thin in Utah. It's just Robbie says, sounds about right to me. I'm sure you could enlighten us, Robbie, on your thoughts about all of that. But anyway, you got Harley 62 that says the 2016 bottle pills that was on his end table in the bedroom is half empty. Sorry, y'all. If he would have had an addiction, that bottle would be empty. Well, that sounds like a common sense, logical thing to say, but then again, when was the bottle full? Was it full back in 2016? Or was there the same kind of pills that he was prescribed back in 2016? He getting them off the street and maybe they were full and he's eat half of them. Show me the evidence that those pills were the exact pills that he was prescribed in 2016. Somebody show that to me. And by the way, my son called in on this because y'all, we're not in no damn studio here. This is my damn cell phone here. That's what we're doing here. So for every time, I mean, yes, common sense says that bottle would be empty, but where are all the other empty bottles? Where are any of the full bottles? It's the only bottle that is a painkiller, and I believe if Corey Richens is guilty, she made sure that bottle was right there by the bed. That's what I mean, if she's guilty, right? Cindy Arnold says, I wouldn't want pills out with little kids running around. And it was also brought out, Cindy, that they were putting the THC gummies way up over the bathroom cabinet there. The only one that the kids could have gotten a hold of was inside of a jacket pocket. Did Eric have a drug problem? Jill Schneider says, honestly, I don't know. But even if he did, he didn't deserve what she allegedly did to him. No one deserves to die for a drug addiction. And again, that has to be proven in a court of law. But y'all remember me telling y'all a while back, if he indeed had a problem because of his lower back and he was getting pills off the street because they had the money to do it, isn't that the perfect camouflage? Isn't that the perfect camouflage for Corey Richens to try to get away with murder by saying, well, he was taking all these pain meds, you know? Eric Jasper says, I don't think that Eric had a drug problem. I think she's riding on them gummies, hoping that will suffice. He says, I think she's riding on the gummies. Here's why. When someone has a habit, okay, this is what Eric Jasper says. When someone has a habit, and there's a difference between a habit and addiction, y'all. There are 100% telltale signs that the ME will find, like buildup of the meds, damage done to certain organs, track marks, nasal inflammation, lung issues. Not like they found. She clearly said that was from his line of work. But the labs for sure would have shown when they did the autopsy. But in the end, they can't hide it forever. Someone other than the significant other, which was Corey, would have suspected this about Eric Richens. We don't know who the defense is going to call as their witnesses. We don't know if Corey Richens is going to testify. Nobody has said that. Quite the opposite. Matter of fact, that fentanyl is relentless. You see those people bent over in that one state. That's what it does to a person. I didn't see any of that, and he looked like a healthy adult. Someone would have noticed it, which that's true. That's something that Eric Jasper brings out. The prosecution hasn't yet really, they've got the father and the sister who's testified. Their line of questioning really didn't have much detail on, have you ever seen Eric high on drugs or things like that? Or maybe they'll bring someone in who says, I've worked with Eric Richens every day in his business there, and I've never seen him high. I've never seen him, on anything or anything like that. Wayne, will you come get Opie, please? My son Andrew is driving up. Okay. So Canyon Jam says, I do not think Eric Richens had a drug problem. There would have been indicators of it in the autopsy. Wayne, leave the door open and pick him up. I have to have the Wi-Fi signal. Leave the door open and I understand, pick him up. There would have been indications of it in the autopsy and forensic toxicology review. The wife is the one that is really skilled at deception, $1.4 million loans, secret lover, nut games with finances, hidden goals outside the bonds of marriage, clandestine drug purchases. And the defense wants the public and jury to believe he had a drug problem. Thanks to you, I've improved my analytical skills, spend more time researching topics before I make a judgment about it, says Canyon Jam. Now, Gia said, I don't think he had a drug problem. THC stays in your system 30 days. They didn't find any. If he did, I would think likely someone he knew would know, and probably some kind of phone evidence of it, which is great points. We haven't had any testimony yet, though, from the saying, someone that works with him or a close friend of his or something like that, saying, I've never seen Eric Richens high, right? Maybe one of his hunting buddies or somebody, to sit up there. I've known him all this time. He's never had a single problem. Pain pills make you very constipated, says Cindy Arnold. Excuse me, y'all. That's funny, Cindy Arnold. And not to be constipated while on pain pills. I'm just saying you're autocorrect there. Anyway, Sam Willow says, and I always really listen to Sam Willow because Sam really has a good grip. There are people who take illegal drugs or over-medicate and are not addicted. Is that a drug problem? Is relying on drugs to ignore feelings, to stop the replay in your head of a situation, or even to calm down a situation, a drug problem? People who lack focus in a time, focus is essential, where focus is essential, using drugs, is that a drug problem? There are people who use street drugs to deal with mental illness. I'm very confused as to guidelines defining addiction and or a drug problem. In the same way, I find that line fuzzy with alcohol. Is a person who gets drunk on Saturday and stays perfectly sober 6 days a week an alcoholic? Using sometimes like that in court needs a solid definition, and we don't have it. And that's really a great point. And I guess that really comes down to why something is illegal. We're not talking about alcohol. We're talking about why is other things illegal. And somebody chooses to do something illegal that's not abusive or addictive or anything like that. But the bottom line is the person knows that it's illegal and they want to do that anyway. And then as far as alcohol, I mean, I guess a person's an alcoholic if they consider themselves one. That's the only thing I mean, I guess there is guidelines if you have so many. There are people that drink every damn day that are not alcoholic, in my view. But that's a whole different topic. It would go on and on and on. But I guess really what I can get out of that, San Willow, your comments there is it really comes down to, is the state going to put witnesses on? They're going to say, I never saw him like this, and those are telltale signs. Even physically, you can look at somebody through their eyes or the way that they talk. Are they talking a little weird? Are they slurring? Are they talking about things that are not connected? They're disjointed. Do they seem like they're on something? Y'all, we've all experienced somebody who was freaking out of their mind on drugs or alcohol. But let's just get in with the drugs here. I mean, the state would almost have to put witnesses on that can say, I was with him all day long when we had his business there. I work with him. You know what I'm saying? Donna says, my mama said her daddy only drank on the weekends, but all weekend. Lots of people are on drugs walking around, going work and other things. There's a period of time where drug addicts are able to juggle before they fall. And that goes with what one of these alcoholics, they're functioning alcoholics. Well, is there such thing as a functioning addict? Right? I guess a functioning addict would have to have their drug of choice with them all the time, because if they didn't have it, then you really could see the signs of someone being uptight and angry and just stressed and anxiety because they don't have that drug there. You know what I'm saying? My poor neighbor has a tumor on his pituitary gland. He has been looking a little wild-eyed. He's going for surgery in Houston in 2 weeks. So then you got Walking on Sunshine, and we're discussing whether Eric Richens had a drug problem or not from what we're seeing in the evidence thus far. And maybe it will come out that he didn't. Or maybe it will come out that there's a high probability that he did. That he was relying heavily on drugs, whether it's THC gummies, which you can put those aside for a lot of people because that's just so mild. But then you got to ask if they're having to medicate themselves because he has a back problem, right? But Walking on Sunshine says that she doesn't think, I'm assuming it's a she, Walking on Sunshine, doesn't think that Eric Richens had a drug problem. Mormons are shamed into good health practices, told to view coffee, tea, alcohol, and drugs as toxic poison. Born, raised, duped, and betrayed by Mormon cult 6 decades. So that's an opinion right there. I don't see a lot of major Mormon influence in the activity and the behaviors that I see so far with Corey Richens and her husband. I mean, they had THC gummies everywhere. I don't know if that's okay with Mormons. They did drink, and Mormons don't like to drink, and I guess there's a sliding scale on how Mormon are you. Some Mormons completely abstain from any caffeine, and some don't have a problem with it. Nate Eaton likes a good Coca-Cola, you know? Jinx for N2 says, I was addicted to fentanyl for 5 years. I had been in recovery and clean for 4 years. In my opinion, there's no way Eric was addicted to fentanyl. He ran and maintained a thriving business. He had no health issues. Most people who use have other health issues. He worked closely with his business partner and was around family. It is a drug you must use 24/7. There's no way no one noticed. And he just would not have been able to function with all the work and extra activities he did with his boys. Now, on the contrary, I personally believe Corey had an addiction because of her actions. Quintapine, y'all. That brings up the quintapine that was in Eric Richens' system, which was Lori's Lori. See, Corey, Lori. What's the difference, right? Corey, she took quintapine, which is Seroquel. It's an atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and major depressive disorder. By balancing dopamine and serotonin, it causes significant sedation, weight gain, and dizziness. Common side effects include dry mouth, headache, and fatigue. It requires careful monitoring for metabolic changes and suicidal thoughts. So, I mean, really, ultimately, why was he taking her medicine? They say off-label uses could be for insomnia, but I don't see that there's any evidence that Eric Richens had insomnia. Could he have taken one because it helped it knock him out? Or did Corey Richens give him some of it to help knock him out? I don't know, but the real question is what the hell was Corey Richens taking that medicine for? Could it have been for schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or major depressive disorder? And don't get me wrong, if anyone on here has that, doesn't make you a bad person. All I'm saying is if she is having to take that medicine, then there's a chance that she saw things a little bit differently. You know what I mean? I'm a big proponent that most anyone and everyone, and I know this for a fact, has had some form of mental illness in their life. Doesn't make them a bad person. And there are people that have to deal with that and take medicine the rest of their life. I am so proud for these people that stay on their regimen, stay in constant contact with their doctor, do all of that. But again, the question remains, why was Eric taking something that was prescribed to Corey? The precaution of using this, I'll call it Seroquel, that was Corey Richens' prescription, but somehow it ended up in Eric's bloodstream. It may increase risk of high blood sugar, suicidal thoughts, and cardiac issues. It can impair coordination, making driving dangerous. So you think about this, whatever Eric Richens took, whether Corey Richens disguised it and gave it to him and he didn't know he was taking it, or whether he took it himself, y'all. At this point, up to this point of the Corey Richens trial, we've seen some circumstantial stuff. We've seen some behaviors of Corey Richens that has to do with money. But then again, it was testified that the day before that night where he died overnight, he was spreading gravel on that mansion that she attained. So he was there trying to be supportive of Corey. He was spreading gravel out there to make a driveway to that mansion that she was going to sign on. So you got to keep this in mind. I know many of us look, and I'm guilty of it too, of, oh, she's guilty already, all this and that. They wouldn't have brought this case if they didn't have good evidence, and maybe they do. But up to this point, y'all, it's a touch and go for old KJ. I don't like Corey Richens. I don't like what she did behind her husband's back with financial matters. I don't like the fact that she was cheating on her husband. It doesn't look good for her whatsoever that she planned and paid for a vacation that was she with her lover there was going to take after Eric died. That's going to count against her. And I'm leaning toward her being guilty. But I'm not one of those 12 jurors. And I'm not the one that's got to abide by those jury instructions. I've known several people that got a hold of fentanyl thinking it was heroin or whatever. People that's had problems with heroin, with pain medication addiction, they got a hold of fentanyl that ended up dying because they got street grade fentanyl thinking it was something else. Street grade fentanyl refers to illicitly manufactured fentanyl. And just keep in mind that the state did bring this out. Were these in packages that, come from a pharmacy? You know how sometimes you'll get your pills from a pharmacy? Or were these in other, like a button packet? Was it in a Ziploc bag and this and that? That can be a distinction between someone who gets their fentanyl or pain medicine from a pharmacy who's got a prescription for it that decides to sell it to a dealer who then in turn sells it to Carmen Laubert, who then in turn sells it to Corey Richens. But street-grade fentanyl is a potent synthetic opioid produced in clandestine labs and illegally distributed. It is not a pharmaceutical product and has no quality control, making it highly dangerous. Street fentanyl is approximately 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine, y'all. As little as 2 milligrams. And that's the size, y'all, of the size of a few grains of sand can be potentially a lethal dose. Let me repeat that. An amount the size of just a few grains of sand of fentanyl, street-grade fentanyl, can be potentially lethal depending on a person's body size, tolerance, and past usage. Due to its low cost and high potency, drug dealers often mix fentanyl into other illicit drugs to increase their effects or profits, often without the user's knowledge. It's been found in heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, MDA or ecstasy, counterfeit pills designed to look like legitimate prescription opioids such as oxycodone, Percocet, and Xanax. So when these drug dealers get up on the stand, that slimeball guy who got up there who sold the drugs to Carmen Laubert, of course he's going to say he didn't sell anything that could get him in trouble. He says he did not sell Oxycontin. He sold oxycodone, which is more milder than Oxycontin, right? But the bottom line is if it's street grade, that asshole didn't know what he was selling. It might have looked exactly like some of the prescription pills that he gets to sell other people. That's the danger. That's the Russian roulette of it all, y'all. The question remains if KJ's theory is correct and that it might have been some street-grade fentanyl mixed into pills that look like pharmaceutical pills, did Corey Richens, was she just getting Eric some pills because that's what he was used to getting? And it just so happened that he got the wrong thing that night and it killed him. Again, y'all, Corey Richens was closing on that place the next day. The day before, Eric Richens is spreading gravel. He's being supportive of his wife there. If I would buy a house out here, my husband's a general contractor, and I bought a house out here to flip, my husband will be over there trying to do what he could because he knows that the success of me flipping that house it's gonna either help us or hurt us. So my husband being a general contractor, he's going to be over there putting gravel down or doing everything he's doing in order for that house to flip. So this whole idea that Eric Richens did not know that she was going to close on this or he was totally against it, well, absolutely he wasn't, because he was out there spreading gravel. And I can't stress that enough, y'all. That's something I didn't know before this trial. I thought he told her, no, we're not doing it or whatever, and she tried to do it behind his back. That's not the case. So the question is if Corey Richens knew that Eric was over there spreading gravel and being supportive of her closing on this house, then why would she want him to kill her? Why would she want to kill him? Maybe, and these are just theories, maybe she went and got the pills. She got the pills to appease him because he was used to getting them. And as long as she could get him appeased and keep on keeping on. Hi, Granny Whisper. Cindy Arnold, exactly. No telling what you're going to get when you buy off the streets. So, the appearance of street-grade fentanyl typically comes in a powder form or is pressed into fake pills, which may be various colors, including rainbow of colors or green. Remember, there was testimony about green pills. He had sold some green ones. He sold some blue ones. It is odorless and tasteless, so it cannot be detected by smell or taste, which would back up that Corey Richens got these, the Michael Jackson stuff, which makes, the defense actually laughed when asking that drug dealer. She's like, do you know anything about the Michael Jackson stuff? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that was a honest answer, because we all know Michael Jackson was, he died from propofol. I don't know how to say it exactly, but it was an anesthesia that puts you under and everything. Why Corey Richens said Michael Jackson stuff, maybe she meant to say something that'll kill you, like it killed Michael Jackson. Maybe that's what she meant by that. Maybe it was she wasn't really wanting the propofol. She wanted something that would kill Eric Richens. But then again, that would mean that Carmen Lauber would have been like, oh, I understand, Corey. You're saying the Michael Jackson stuff, something that'll kill somebody. I don't think Carmen Lauber wanted to be a part of killing Eric Richens. I just don't. So that kind of shoots that down. The process of illicit fentanyl is not regulated or precise, leading to unpredictable dosages. One DEA analysis found that 6 out of 10 fentanyl-laced counterfeit pills contained a potentially lethal dose. This unpredictability is a major driver of accidental overdose deaths, y'all. So you throw that, you have to, y'all. You have to throw that in the mix. Did Corey Richens want to murder Eric Richens? The jury's going to have to make a decision. And it's not about we've got to find the smoking gun, because what happens in any murder cases, we've got what we got, says the state. We've got circumstantial evidence. Maybe we ain't got enough direct evidence, or maybe, things are not falling the way we want as we present our case. But ultimately, whatever evidence we are presenting the jury, y'all look at that evidence and y'all have to make a decision. Sorry, we don't have the smoking gun. Sorry, we don't have Corey Richens saying in a text message to her lover, I want to kill his ass. But then she did say, if he wasn't around, right? Which is that's good circumstantial evidence there. What I'm trying to get at, y'all, is when it comes to Eric Richens dying of a lethal dose of fentanyl, it's really going to come down to what the defense decides to do in their case. Are they going to bring people in that's going to say, yes, I remember the wag the dog thing? Corey wanted her brother to come in and say that Eric did drugs or this or that. Are they going to have somebody come in to say Eric was always popping pills? And then, of course, it really comes down to whether or not whatever Eric took, was Corey wanting him dead? Or was that something that Eric took himself and didn't know it, that Corey got him, that ended up killing him? And Corey didn't know. Gia says, hopefully the prosecution has something coming that will shake the courtroom. That's exactly the point, though, Gia. And you make a great point. Something that will shake the courtroom. Nothing like that has happened yet. Yes, we've had testimony and we've seen Corey with her hands in her face. And I mean, folks, what would you do if that happened to you and your husband died overnight like that? I mean, should tears be streaming down her face? I mean, the sister of Eric Richens gets on the stand and says she was all made up and she just didn't act normal and she didn't act like she was upset at all. And yet the defense brings the video right off the bat showing Corey going over to comfort the sister of Eric Richens. I mean, we're talking the prosecution, they present their evidence through testimony, exhibits, and all that, and then the defense is either going to neutralize that or create some form of reasonable doubt with it. Y'all know the drill. And right now, the state does not have a great case, but the good news is the things that I know for a fact, that Corey Richens cheated on her husband, Corey Richens committed financial frauds and all that. She's sitting in jail and is sitting in jail for what, 3 years? And she ain't getting out anytime soon. And she will get convicted of those financial crimes. It's whether or not she's going to get convicted of the murder of her husband. Can she successfully plant reasonable doubt in the jurors' minds because Eric Richens perhaps had this back problem and was used to taking pain pills on and off, that she was getting them or he was getting them. I mean, what's going to happen, y'all, when someone comes in who was on a hunting trip with Eric for the defense and says, yeah, I had to get him some pain pills? One person, just one person from the defense that gets on that stand who's not the brother of Corey or someone out here says, yes, we were in Mexico, I had to get Eric some pain medicine. How's that going to look? It's not going to look good at all. And if Corey Richens did indeed murder Eric Richens, she had the best camouflage of all, his already character defect of using pain meds outside of getting a prescription for them, getting them off the street. And that's just alleged. I'm just saying, if it does come out that there's proof behind that, it's just the way it is. Thank you, Gia. So I'm going to get off here now and go in here. I'm going to blow my nose. I'm going to hack up some more crap. I want y'all to leave in the comments. I'm continuing to put stuff on the community wall for the raise so that y'all can educate me so we can get together and deal with this together. See what happens this week. Go to Difficult Research with Donna, who says she should have been a detective. Go on that channel to watch the trial. Help the smaller channels, y'all. You could go to Law and Crime. You could go to Court TV. But go to a smaller channel. Give them support. They're taking their time, their energy to live stream the trial. That's where OKJ's going to be. And I hope that y'all will leave messages on the community wall. Again, y'all were the ones that made this morning's Coffee with KJ. Your thoughts, your views. You being the only you're ever going to be. We're going to do it together. So with that being said, have a great rest of the day. Donna says, KJ and y'all all come by Difficult Research. Thank you all for your thoughtful comments. And with that being said, I love you all and keep on looking.